Hello and welcome to the Zonal Weakness brought to you by Corner Football Fantasy, powered by Fantasy Football Scout. And of course, this is for the last time this season that we are here today to discuss about the zonal weakness. And I know ahead of the final and the penultimate game week, it's looking pretty interesting. But yeah, a lot of things have been cleared, at least from the Premier League point of view. But from a Fantasy Premier League point of view, there are many things that we still need to achieve. So that's what makes this zonal still quite important in terms of where you want to finish your rank and how we would like to win the mini leagues and whatever competition that you're trying to participate. But it's good to be back and thank you so much. And of course, I'm going to do this all alone because, as I said previously, that Sankalp is no longer with us and he is currently taking a break from Premier League, Fantasy Premier League. So unfortunately, he'll not be joining us next season. Of course, we're looking for a new host to do the analysis. So in that case, it will be important that we kind of move forward. But anyway, here is the zonal weakness for Gameweek 38, and of course, we are currently producing a lot of content on social media, including on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube. On Twitter, we are nearly close to 8,000, just a couple of followers away from 8,000. So we would appreciate it. In the last week, we would be able to reach that 8,000 mark. That would be great because that would help us to be motivated for the next season when we come back. And of course, we will try and continue to do the zonal. So your following and liking and subscribing to our channel will help you to at least look forward to the content that we continuously will provide or produce next season. So do support and do share the content. And all the data that you see are taken from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. If you're interested in it, please do click in the link in the description below. And of course, you'll be able to get access to it. And I know this is the last week, but one may wonder what is the purpose of doing it so. But I think this is the right time to do so because the membership is not for 9 months, like as long as the season runs, it's for 1 year. So next year as well, if you're planning to use this tool, it would be useful to buy it right now because then you can still use it next year until the season ends. So it'd still be useful. Yeah. And of course, it helps us as well. So we would appreciate if you can do that. Right, moving on, and let's see what we have in store for the zonal weakness for the final game week, which is game week 38. And before we do that, what we are going to do is we are going to just look at the zonal transfer review that we suggested in game week 36. I know that game week 38 has not yet taken place, but we are still doing the review ahead because after 38 there will be no review whatsoever and we'll not be following up. So just wanted to showcase the importance of zonal in terms of calling out these players and how we are kind of suggesting it and how they're performing. It's just not a blind call, but rather a more informed decision that we are asking people to take. So it goes through a little bit of a process as well. So here it is. As you can see, Wood, who's done well in game week 38 but didn't do very well in 37, has scored 5 points per match so far. Watkins, on the other hand, have done very well in terms of his performance in game week 36, scored 9 points, and in game week 37, of course, against Tottenham, he scored 5 points. So that's a total of 14 points in 2 game weeks, which is like around 7 points per game week. And Bowen has done tremendously well, and I think he still is likely to do well, of course, in the next game week. We will look into that a little bit later when we look into the zonal table. But as you can see, he has scored 8 points in game week 36, and of course 8 points in game week 37, which has given him a total of 16 points with 8 points per match. De Bruyne, on the other hand, has been a bit of a disappointment. There was a lot of hope about him, knowing that this is his last season in the Premier League, that he's likely going to play all the matches, and there was a lot of hype about him, and he was looking sharp. Unfortunately, that did not result into any sort of outcome, from the appeal point of view, and that we can clearly see. And he's only managed to score 6 points over the last 2 game weeks, and scoring only 3 points per game week. So it's a bit of a disappointment from the De Bruyne point of view, but from the others, I think they have done pretty much very good. At least Bowen and Watkins were really the standout. Now to the table, and let's have a look what we see in the table. And then this is the first fixture that we get to see, which is pretty interesting in terms of if you clearly look at it. It's, of course, we'll start with a very important match, which is Arsenal versus Southampton. Not important in terms of Premier League, but again, important in terms of FPL. And clearly, we can see Havertz is back in our chart because he's declared fit. And as you can see that, Southampton, who actually considered 28 chances down the center and are ranked the worst, but at the same time, they are also ranked second, where on the right flank, where they have considered 29 chances, where Martinelli or even Declan Rice, who's kind of showing a little bit of form in terms of scoring goals, at least, I think he's there again. So that looks a little bit promising. Saka, who happens to be a bit of a FPL manager's go-to man for this week, and his prospect also looks quite promising in terms of the fact that on the left flank, Southampton have actually conceded 26 chances and are ranked fourth. So this looks really interesting from the Arsenal point of view. But you never know, Southampton might just park the bus, and yeah, the chances could be low. But then again, on the other hand, on the flip side, 38 game week is always known to be a game week where a lot of goals are scored, and it happens to be usually a goal fest. So this could be the week where Saka and all the Arsenal assets really go in. And of course, Southampton knows this. There is nothing else to play for. Their relegation is more or less confirmed. So it's just a matter of pride that they did still well on the last day. So you never know really how it might span out, but the fact that the zonal indicates good chances and good possibilities for Arsenal assets, so I think they are good to target. Moving on to the next fixture, which is of course Ipswich versus West Ham, and I think here Bowen, as we have rightly pointed out previously, is that he's looking like a very good option this game week. If you don't have him, I think he's a very good transfer, even for one game week, because of the fact that Ipswich have actually considered 33 chances down the left flank and are ranked worst, and then 25 chances have been considered down the center, where Ipswich are ranked third, and that's where Fulkrug and Suchet are likely to occupy. But again, down the flank, if you see it, Ipswich have actually again considered, in terms of the right flank, have actually considered 31 chances and are ranked worst. So both the flanks of Ipswich looks very weak. So Kudus and Bowen and Sofal, and of course this is Sofal's last match, and Wan-Bissaka could again do very well in this match. So yeah, this looks like a very good option, and I think the shout for Bowen captaincy is there is some sort of a merit in it. It's not just a shout because they're playing Ipswich, but there is also the data that is backing it up. For the next fixture, which is Leicester versus Bournemouth, what we can clearly see is that, if you look at the right flank here of Leicester, where Bournemouth would be occupying, Tavernier and Kerkez, you can see that 28 chances have been considered down that flank, and they're ranked third, and then 27 chances have been considered down the center, where Evanilson, who happens to be quite a sort of like a popular pick for this week from the FPL manager's point of view. Yeah, it looks promising again because 27 chances and are ranked second. But then again, Semenyo is also an interesting one because of the fact that 30 chances have been considered by Leicester down the left flank, where they are ranked second worst. So all the three flanks are likely to be exploited by the Bournemouth assets. So yeah, having Evanilson or doubling up with Evanilson or Semenyo or even with Kerkez tripling up, I think this looks like a promising game for them as well. And Bournemouth, of course, will be playing for pride, but at the same time, they still have the possibility to do well in this fixture as well. Moving on to the next one, which is Tottenham versus Brighton. And if you look at the Brighton assets, knowing the fact that Tottenham have just recently finished and are champions of the Europa League after beating Manchester United, a bit of a disappointment. And I don't want to go really have a sidetrack discussion about Manchester United and Tottenham. But the fact that Tottenham just recently played and will be playing again, and of course whatever they had to achieve has been achieved. So there is nothing much really to play for, which is something that Brighton might be able to exploit. And of course, as the zonal data suggests, you can see down the right flank where Tottenham have actually considered 22 chances and are ranked fifth. And then down the center, they have considered 25 chances and are ranked third, where Welbeck and Adingra could actually do very well. So yeah, if you wanted to really go and take an outside punt, completely, I think Welbeck looks a little bit of a promising shout beside Ivan Listen, and of course, if Havertz. And the possibility is, this is where, because all the matches happen to be at the same time, there's the chances of team leaks. So keep an eye out on your social media for the team leaks, and then based on that, you can make those transfers. At the very last moment, if Havertz is starting, yeah, it might, or even Trossard is starting, then might be a very good option, and along with Ivan Listen and Welbeck. From the Brighton's point of view, Tottenham, of course, only is Johnson, the goal scorer in the Europa League final. I don't think so he'll be playing, but again, this is my personal opinion. I'm not predicting the team line here, but again, if he does play, or even if whoever is playing in that particular zone is likely to exploit the weakness of Brighton, because Brighton have considered 26 chances and are ranked fourth worst. So that's important to note. But yeah, I'm I am not going to speculate on the team sheet. I think it will be just mere speculation, so I'm going to avoid that. Yeah, but yeah, if you want to take the risk and if you have the leaks in hand and you think these people are playing, then please look at the table and just make the transfer at the very last moment. Moving on to the next fixture, which is Brentford versus Wolves, and I think Cunha and Aitnuri looks to be the standout option in this fixture. There is a lot of interest already. Fabrizio Romano has already kind of confirmed Cunha moving to Manchester United. I don't know if that will still continue or will fall through given the recent results. But again, we're not here to talk about transfers. But at least from the mentality of, say, this is still the final match for Cunha against for Wolves. And then again, he's going to play Brentford, where they are looking like weak, particularly with 22 chances considered and are ranked fifth. Sorry again. So yeah, Cunha and Aitnuri could really do well here in this aspect. On the other hand, there's nothing much for what you call it Brentford. To be honest, we don't at least see it in this slide. Maybe in the next slide we might find something interesting for Brentford assets, because a lot of people do have Brentford assets. Moving on to the next fixture, which is Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea, and I think Madueke is the only option that looks really promising, along with Neto, where they have considered 29 chances are ranked third. There is the Conference League final that's there as well that needs to be played. So I think Chelsea might go into this match a bit more cautious, but Nottingham Forest as well. But both teams are still, I'm not really sure about it, but again, both teams are still competing for the Champions League spot. So this could be a very important match as well, right? Right, and then it's Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. There's nothing much really standing out except the fact that if you really look down the left flank where Salah is going to occupy, as far as the recent press conference suggests, Gueye is not going to play. Wharton and Chilwell, they are ill. So yeah, that makes Crystal Palace's defense a little bit weaker than we anticipate, or their midfield a little bit lighter than we anticipate because of in the absence of Wharton and of course others. And yeah, Salah, this is the final game. In front of their home crowd, they'll be lifting the trophy, so they would like to put on a show here. At least that's what I expect. So with Crystal Palace defensive absentees, and of course the key player in the midfield, the data suggests that they have considered 24 chances down the left, where Salah is ranked, or sorry, Crystal Palace is ranked seventh, and that's the position where Salah would be occupying. So yeah, Elliott or Salah, whoever plays, I'm expecting Salah to play, of course, given that it's the final match and they'll be lifting the trophy in front of their home crowd for after nearly 35 years. So yeah, it would be important that they put on a show, and it would be really icing on the cake if Salah actually manages to score a goal in this match. So, and the data suggests that that is likely a possibility in this match as well. So, yeah, I'm not kind of surprised. So I wouldn't really bench Salah in this match. But again, Jota and others are really not that promising. At least the data doesn't suggest so. But you never know how the 38 game will pan out. Yeah. Right, moving on to the next slide, and there it is. There's a lot of green here, less white. So I'm just going to focus on the white, given that we are not going to go overboard with the time. Liverpool versus what you call it, Crystal Palace. It's only Mateta that stands out, with Liverpool conceding 21 chances down the center and a ranked fifth. Of course, Liverpool might concede a goal, which is likely. Nketiah has done well in the previous match. Mateta is not really showing that kind of form. So yeah, that would be interesting. Nothing really in terms of the Wolves versus Brentford game. No players are really standing out. Wolves defense really looks solid here. If you can see from all the flanks, just above the Liverpool fixture, you can see it. So yeah, it doesn't really look very promising for Shada or Visa or even Mbomo. But then again, this is Gameweek 38, and you never know what happens really. But the data suggests that this is going to be a bit of a feisty affair, I would say. Yeah. And then last fixture that I would like to really focus on, it's West Ham versus Ipswich, where pretty much more or less all the players don't really stand out, except the fact that Hutchinson and Delap. If you really look at the center and the left flank, that's where they are going to occupy the position of West Ham. And I think West Ham have actually considered 17 chances down the center and a ranked seventh where Delap is going to play, and then 25 chances and a ranked sixth where Hutchinson and Tonzebe is going to play. And Enciso, of course, has the likely chances of getting a assist because of the fact that they have considered a lot of crosses down the right flank, where at least the data suggests 63 and a ranked fourth and 71 and a ranked fourth. So that's pretty interesting from the two flanks. Just goes to show how much of crosses West Ham have been conceding. So you never know, they could be at the end of the day. So yeah, I'll move on to the team of the week, and this is the final team of the week, of course, and rightly so. Welbeck makes it to the team along with Ivan Lisson, who happens to be a popular pick. But in the midfield, it's a 3-5-2 combination that we're going with. In the midfield, it looks pretty crowded with Martinelli, Kudus, and Semenyo, Bowen, and Saka rightly making the spot. What's interesting is Martinelli being there, and I think this is because of the zonal. Saka obviously is a popular pick, and Bowen and Semenyo and Kudus as well. But I think Kudus is the one that is the differential that stands out. And again, zonal looks really interesting. So that would be great. Wan Bissaka makes it as well. And he's been performing quietly, going under the radar, not being drawing too much attention, but really playing well. And he makes it to the team. And I think the zonal indicates that he could again be at the end on the score sheet this week as well. So yeah, he rightly makes it. So Kirkes and White, I'm not quite surprised back again. So it's good. It's it's good to have them both. And then in the goalkeeping, of course, it's Allison who makes it. Yeah, so that's the entire team that we're looking at. So yeah, good luck with your game week. And I think that's all we have for this week, and of course for the season. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for all the support that we got and we received. And there was a lot of um, views coming in. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate it very much. And we'll see you next season with the zonal weakness. But until then, take care. Goodbye.